A very good morning, dearest friends, family, brothers and sisters. Salam, namaste, om shanti. A very good morning, blessed day, beautiful sunny day here in sunny tropical Guyana. My mind is worrying me much about many things. Firstly, quickly for a minute or two, has to do with the heat we're getting in Guyana, which is unusual, in which we have been made to understand that millions, if not billions of barrels or gallons or whatever of natural gas has been burnt up into the atmosphere by a process called flaring, which is so dangerous for the world, so dangerous for our environment and climate change. It is a shame that a company would go to the extent of destroying the world, destroying a nation. And I'm sad to say that I'm always saying that ExxonMobil is my friend, but they are extremely irresponsible. For the sake of profitability and money, they will want, within a few years, at maximum pull, suck all our oils out, have no system in place to eliminate the flaring, and which can cause us to lose billions from Norway and a few other countries for helping to save the earth, which already we are not getting enough from some of the most developed countries to help to save the earth, because they want all the money for themselves, even though the earth is being destroyed, the environment destroyed. And this was brought up into the world, into reality, by former President, His Excellency, and now Vice President, Dr. Jagdeo, the cause of which made him the champion of the earth, one of the champions of the earth, for which the then opposition, still back now into opposition after a period of governance, mocked him so much. But I guess that goes with the department called politics, the occupation called politics, because it has to do with animalistic urge for human grab, eating and drinking and sucking of power, even to the point of causing national distancing and hate. What a terrible thing some of our politicians have. And we always see this coming only from one group of people, basically from one party. At this juncture, I want to be positive, so I don't want to point any fingers, but you know who. But I could recall and say very well that during the recent times of when Mr. Corbyn was opposition leader, a leader of the People's National Congress reform, he never did anything. He was a true ambassador of peace, and that's why we appointed him ambassador of peace, who really worked for national cohesion and goodwill, who really worked for peace in the country, but who I think also were not allowed to do all that he could have done. I think if he was listened to by the then government, Guyana could have gone a far way. The gentleman since then was calling for a National Reconciliation Committee and a conference, huge conference, so we can pour our hearts out, so we can cry, we can tear, like what was done in South Africa, and we can build this country. But I moved away a little bit, but it's a good point to come back to. I can't believe that companies and corporations, for sake of profits, would destroy the habitat. It's like lions, tigers, hyenas, birds, deer, antelope, name them, all kinds of animals, including the microbes, coming together for the sake of one group of people destroying their habitat. Their habitat, in which is the key or keys for them to live and to survive. The reality of their food source, their food chain, right? Because out of that you get what people might consider to be bad, but it is a food chain. And technically everything is bad. Like you have the hyenas who will eat the scraps and the leftovers that the lions and the tigers and the tiger cat and the leopards don't want, right? So they will go for the scraps that left over that's thrown away. The animals, when they hunt and they can't consume the entire animal that they have taken, and that is necessary because there will be overpopulation of that one which will cause an imbalance. But what happens, friends and family, is that if you're to kill out what appears to be the bad ones, let us say the mongoose, everything. If you're to kill out the hyenas, which people think looks ugly, but they were made that way for a purpose. And they are a social breed, you know, a social group. They are needed to help to clear the meats from rotting and the bones from rotting and creating a nasty environment. In other words, the point I'm trying to make, man should not be destroying his environment and habitat because we are living in this habitat. And same thing for us. How can these corporations come into our country, tell us what they want, manipulate us so they can have everything, and then possibly leave us in a quandary, then put facilities in place that we can borrow money to try to help develop us, and we stay constantly in a state of pain and a state of failure and a state of destruction. Then they will tell us that we are the ones who are poor administrators, poor governance, and the money, many of it will be stolen by evil. And we've seen what was happening over the last few years, how contracts and possibilities and ability to survive were being directed towards one set of people. And so as you don't toe the line, they put things in place. And that happened to me just before the last election. Put things in place even though they know they would lose the election to try and destroy me. But, you know, I didn't curse up nobody. I didn't abuse anybody, friends and families, simply because I believe what is meant by God for a person cannot be taken away by others. But coming back to our thing here, is that on our earth, this earth is the God Almighty, Creator, Allah, the Om, the Yahweh, is the creator of the earth and the universe and the mizan, the Arabic word for balance. For the balance of the environment and the universe is the one collapse, the other collapses. One fall, the other fall. The same way with humanity. We have to keep all that we have together. Our Afro-Guyanese, our Indo-Guyanese, our indigenous Guyanese, our Chino-Guyanese, our mixed Guyanese groupings. We have to keep them well and safe and happy so that Guyana truly can prosper. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, while this is the Arceus Guyana Free Media in the raw, I am exercising at the same time. I don't waste a moment of my life. Even if I'm sitting relaxing, I think of writing something or doing something that will be useful and not inimical to my life and to my country. So it's a very painful thing, and that's why I'm talking about the heat that we have been feeling in this country. I think it's coming from this flaring. We need to know what Trinidad is doing. Nobody's talking about that. The government of Guyana, you have to follow the format of Trinidad. What has Texas been doing? What has Arabia been doing? And insist that international protocols of flaring is utilized. Now, natural gas. We have to put things in place that we can convert our vehicle engine through a small device to use natural gas. It's cheaper, it's abundant, and we only pay basically the cost of bringing it on shore. But if you have to use a company, then the company will have to use make some profit. But all in all, it must be better for our environment, our general health, our country, our earth, our world. We are all one in the world. When one part of the world falls, the entire world suffers. When one bomb is exploded in one area that is destroying their environment, the wind and the air brings it to where we are in another country. So we as a people of the world and in Guyana, we have to be very careful. Now this flaring, I think it's already affecting our environment and has been causing an excessive amount of heat in our country and maybe in the other areas in the Caribbean, for which, who knows, maybe someone will file a lawsuit against us. Then in any lawsuit, according to the ridiculous contract that Trotman signed, we in Guyana are responsible. I repeat, we in Guyana are responsible for what we signed. And Mr. Trotman just went and signed, and he admitted he didn't read. He just signed because the treatment was so good. How can people who treat you so good be so bad? And again, I'm not blaming the company. To a certain extent, yes. As people who should be concerned with saving the country and the world, they're more concerned about profits and financing. I'm very disappointed with this company, ExxonMobil. I just wish they could find the reality and the compunctions to work for what is good for our country and other countries as well. So I'm saying our leaders need to take two things. One, include the opposition in a board of oversight for oil and gas. Yes. And I'm very happy when I heard the Minister of Natural Resources, the Honorable Vikram Bharat, says that the Payara contract and information and so on will be made public. We must remember, and I'm proud of them, that Guyana is not owned by a political authority governing for a time called government. It is owned by Guyana. And Guyana has hired you, like we will hire a lawyer individually, an engineer, a mechanic, an architect, a builder. We have hired you to look after the interests of this country. And you cannot, like an architect, you have to follow their procedure. Like a mechanic, like an engineer, keep things secret. And I'm very happy to hear that the new government, the PPPC government, their minister, or technically the director of natural resources, is saying on behalf of the government that nothing will be kept secret, and I thank you for that. And also, the Honourable Minister Vikram Bharat, think of consultations at time. Speak to your people. Speak to the peoples in your country, and not to one people, not merely the supporters of a party, right? Not merely them, but to speak to all Guyanese and get their opinion in their minds. And at certain times, we need to do what is done in the United States and England and Europe and so on. Certain research with a varied population and find their views, how they support this and how to support that. There's a scientific method to know how these numbers will show for the entire population or the country. So, friends and families, Guyana, our country, we must save it. I'm happy to hear that they're going to do that, and I'm happy to know that the government of the day is working for all peoples. I want to call on the opposition leader to stop this rhetoric of telling your people that cheated, not defeated. It is so wrong, and anyone, even with the intelligentsia in your own party, knows that you could not have won the election, especially with the destruction of the sugar industry, not keeping the promises for the rice industry, abandoning them to find their own markets, just sudden, like by fiat, automatic. That you could not have won, sir. You could not have won. The fall and the destruction of the mining industry, where over 60% of the people walked out of their mines because of the costs associated with VAT to procure items. The country really went through an upheaval during your time, and while your intention might have been good, you were not listening to the people. And so you lost the election. I'm asking you all to stop this rhetoric and find a mechanism to create trust. This is our country, and don't, because somebody disagrees with you or show up something that you have done that is wrong, you make that person your enemy. I'm telling you again, Mr. Harman, Mr. Granger, and the government, very much so, whoever is critiquing you, and this is why we are hiring and paying for an opposition, Don't look at the critiques as your enemy. The person who is boasting you up, the person or persons or organization, individuals who is keep pampering you and telling you what you're doing is right, even if you're doing is wrong, you must know those are your enemies. And it's a basic concept in Islam. Religions in Sanatan Dharma, I saw it also. For example, in the army and the police. You got someone, we have seen that in a social organization I belong to that's supposedly very powerful and supposed to represent Guyana. And there's a but to my opinion, which has messed itself up in many ways. I've seen someone there too, and in other organizations, where this person always try to play goody-goody, always boosting up the head, always playing as if they're a saint. And we have seen this in the army and the police force. I talked with a senior retired chief of staff recently, and the former brigadier, and to explain something, and he said, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. There are some people who keep running to you, showing you how they're brilliant, how they're smart, how they're intelligent, and how you want to call them to sit in everything. While that person might have ulterior motive to get fees or sit-in fees and monies for themselves, and are more interested in that, an opportunity for themselves. These persons who are pampering you all the time is not your friend. Your true friend is telling you how your eye has a, what we call boo-boo, or the log in your eyes, or a speck, or that you have a bad breath. Those are your best friends, not those who, if you have a bad breath, are telling you that you have a beautiful breath and are telling you that you're beautiful. Those people are your enemies. So I want to ask the government to be aware, watch out for the panderers, right, of praise and so on. And watch out for those who realize they study you and they see where your weaknesses are. And if you're a person that you like praise, I saw that as a commissioner years ago, whereby one particular operative in a security company, now deceased, God bless his soul, was always boasting the commissioner, even though the commissioner made mistakes. But the commissioner was smarter than that. And persons like us who would disagree and point out intellectually. And this is why you government, you in the opposition, don't listen or don't to those who are just flattering you and pointing fingers at people. Listen to the words of those people who they're pointing the fingers at, and try to be judicious and classy and skillful. We need all of our people. We need those in the opposition now. We need those in the governments, those in the government, those who are independent, those who are apolitical, and so on. I've always been apolitical. But after I saw what was taking place at the count and the recount, I had to make certain pronouncements, because I, from an institution that I belong to, was the only person who dared to go, because I had to be there to witness and to create something in history, some presence in history. But when I saw the skullduggery and the manipulation that was taking place, I had to talk. So I became enemies of who were friends. But if you were listening to me, the name would not have gone down internationally around the world, in which they are marked, and in which now they have been blocked from entering certain countries. And my understanding is more to come. So we are hoping for the best. Let's work for Guyana. Let us work to heal our environment, a social environment where we live amongst our peoples. And let us work to create this nexus, this communication amongst the opposition and the government, so that they can sit on certain keyboards, but not as enemies. They have to sit. And this is what I think the government is afraid of. They want to sit as enemies because the leader of the opposition has taken an oath to bring down the government at all costs. So how can you feel comfortable to eat on the same table, or even if you have to share a same plate? How can you share a meal with such people who are out to destroy you or kill you? You have to accept reality, Mr. Harmon Ranger. The end has come. Your time has ended. This is what was marked by you, by the universe and the scheme of things and the Lord God. And also, when wrong things are done, nature put things in place to have you replaced. The Quran says, I've given you bounties and blessings, talents, but if you do not make good of them, I will take it away from you, and I will give it to another people who will bring forth good. This is so applicable in so many ways, individually, nationalistically, that God give you a blessing and opportunity. You have to govern, and this goes to the PPPC government now. And I see they are doing that. Govern for all your people. Govern for all Guyana. All your people. Not for one set of people as we had seen in the past. And be just and fair. And make good of the blessings that God give you. And then you will prosper, and your government will prosper, and the people will prosper. And create things in such a way that even the opposition, which I believe, and I'm not saying this is a political personality, because of what happened and what has been done and all that is going on at the moment, and the alienation of certain segment of the population, a percentage who was supporting them, alienating them, even some of their own people, causing those people not to vote, and a few of them to vote against them, to remember that the people are the power. And we have got to work not to alienate, not to create hate, not to destroy. I keep on saying it, but somehow or the other, some people are not getting it. What you put out is what you receive. So we have to think of Guyana first. Dealing with the oil companies, dealing with our peoples, our societies, our groups. Guyana is a great and a magnificent country. We need all our peoples. The Indians, the Africans, the Chinese, everyone, all the people, the Portuguese, the indigenous, they all have put their mark in this country. And therefore we have to ensure that all have the opportunity to enjoy the resources and the bounties of our earth. And that we work together as one. I'm asking the opposition to try and calm themselves down in a genuine manner for a few years and be a positive opposition. Yes, disagree with them, please. That's what we are paying you for. Disagree with them and so forth. But when it comes to national development and human development, national cohesion and human cohesion, we must work for our peoples and our country. Your friend, your brother, me, Haji, Dr. Roshan Khan, saying thank you for listening, and farewell, my beloved divine friends and families, as my talk is going to, let me see, 23 minutes here. And so I have to take this to about at least 30 minutes for this exercise. So I have also to walk in my garden, or my gardens. I have 3 gardens in this place, ladies and gentlemen. Over there where you see that wooden house at the back there, fruit trees and gardens, and there's a fish pond. Some of you have seen that before. I call it by the grace of God, everything is grace of God. My fish pond, and a garden over there, and along over there, where you see that fence, friends and families, you've seen it already. Later on I'll probably show you the update, where I planted trees, fruit trees, bananas, vegetables, sweet potato, cassava, peppers, all papaya. Everything is coming beautiful by the mercy of God and our nature. And then there's over there, that side there now, where you're seeing that, maybe that tall tree at the back there, over this small benab or so, across there, more fruit trees, and my fresh vegetable gardens, growing mustard and pak choy and kale and all such kinds of things that is good for health. I have tulsi growing, I have lemongrass and fever grass, all due to the mercy of God and the vision with which I was blessed to use every inch. I'm like the Chinese, you know. In China, they use every square inch of land. And I want to show you something else, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy for this. Here is my date tree. Look at it. Look how it has grown. Look at that. That's my date tree. Well, it'll take a number of years to bear. I had one here. It died. And that is another part of the Quran. You give it the same water, you give it the same food, the same earth, but by my decree, one will bear and one will not. And there are messages in this for a people with comprehension. There are messages in this for a people who think. There are messages in this for a people with hearts, God tells us. Friends and family, your friend, your brother, me, Haji, Dr. Roshan Khan. I also had one growing here, but it was suffering. It's still there, but somehow or the other, it's not coming the way I would have liked it to come. So, I'm hoping and praying that it'll catch itself. I got some more that will be planted, and they're coming up. You ever regretted that I planted these, I call Florida palm, Sipari, African Sipari, Indian Sipari, out on the reserve? I should have planted dates. I should have planted dates. But I'm still planting dates for each one of them. Like how I have this here, like this palm here, ladies and gentlemen. Next to it, I'll put the dates. So as this gets older, the dates will replace it. This here is our local kukrit. It's a palm. I should have planted kukrit and awara. And here the kukrit is bearing now, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, tree. Thank you, Father God. And look at that palm tree there. The stuff it bears is completely useless. Or we haven't mastered what to use. Maybe we can make oil. But we don't have that industry that we set. I remember when in the Forbes-Burnham government, they were collecting a kuru and awara and so on, trying to make cooking oil. It was delicious. The oil was sweet. But look at this. This has oil inside, but we haven't learned how to use it and master it. So I'm trying to show you see here I have an empty pot. So in it, I placed around it a couple of beautiful sapodilla that grow. So when it forms trees and it grows, I will try something with this. I never saw a grafted, but there's a technique of grafting which I'm learning now. Ladies and gentlemen, my old age, same thing here. I plant some of them, and when they grow to a certain state, we know where the seed come from. A sapodilla tree in my yard, and you take a little sapling, and you try to graft it. Friends and families, let's build our country, let's build our life, let's save our country. That the opposition and the government embrace. Let us go out as a people, the opposition with the government, and bring our peoples together as Forbes-Burnham tried before he died. And that is why I think some people had to put things in place for the man to go, because he was trying to work with Dr. Cheddi Jagan to bring our nation. The realization came into him and our peoples together. That is long after he had fulfilled his ambition that he had wanted and realized the only true destiny was for Guyana. But eventually he died. And some say that at the hands of man. And I've looked at the situation, and I think there was some skullduggery involved in his death. But who will ever want to listen to me and my views and my points? Bring evidence. But I can give you good commonsensical considerations and thoughts. Friends and families, me, your friend and brother, Haji, Dr. Roshan Khan, saying thank you for tuning in to this In the Raw Archies, Guyana Free Media. Farewell, friends.